say that yet, but it's close. I mean, I think he makes a fair point.
Other conferences have stepped up. You look at the Atlantic 10, West Coast Conference, Horizon League. They stepped up. Missouri Valley Conference
tournament winner goes. Drake, you better win the conference tournament.
Yeah, you know, and Chris Lowry.
RPI.
Chris Lowry already knows, too. Southern Illinois has to win the conference tournament if they want to go to the NCAA tournament for the 7th straight year. I will agree with you on this. I don't think Drake has a lot of margin for error. I think you'll start seeing them fall should they start losing. But Keno Davis's team hasn't started losing yet on ESPN.com. We'd like for you to log on, go to the Sports Nation poll, tell us which game you want us to pick. You see your choices included there. Northern Iowa and
Eric
Drake.
Coleman. Watch out for Eric Coleman.
He's been tough. Northern Iowa's made noise. Drake coming off a victory over Creighton, who's coming in here tonight to take on Southern Illinois. We will have plenty of picks coming your way. We'll pick winners for you. These guys will tell you who has the edge in the games coming up on Saturday. And the big fella in the middle, who has a bigger guy in the middle, but will he be able to make a big impact for North Carolina, Asheville? The story of Kenny George reaching high coming up. If you are in the dog pound, the student section in Carbondale, there is no bigger game than when Creighton comes to town, and they will tonight. And they're already frenzied in anticipation of the huge game coming up against their arch rivals. It's huge regardless of the rivals and of the records. It is the height of irony that North Carolina Asheville's Kenny George has written several short stories and short screenplays. As an aspiring filmmaker, one would think that George's genre would be tall tales. After all, he is a 7-7 behemoth in the middle. He leads the nation in field goal percentage. He is second in block shots. And as Darren Lynn tells us, George has Asheville standing head and shoulders above the Big South and dwarfing pretty much everything he sees.
Big guy can't find the handle, or yes, he can.
I'm Kenny George. I'm 7'7", 365 pounds.
Here's an alley-oop to George.
93-inch wingspan, size 28 shoe.
First time I saw Kenny, I was on the track. He got closer and closer, and he just got bigger and bigger.
Wow, first of all, the biggest guy I'd ever seen by far. I was just curious to see if he could play basketball.
This is one guy that's really as tall as they say. You know, I've recruited for years and years, and usually there's shrinkage and shippage. Kenny was as big as he was supposed to be.
Kenny George is the tallest player in the history of Division I basketball. He leads the nation with nearly 5 blocks per game.
We protect the three-point line and say, if you want to dribble in there, go ahead. You know, if you feel like you can finish, that's on you. We're going to see you do it a couple times before we adjust what we're doing defensively.
You get a lot of this, you know, what do I do? Looking at the coach for advice, and really, you know, there's no answer for him, and you kind of chuckle to yourself when you see it because there's really nothing that the kids can do. It's just physically impossible.
Despite his defensive presence, George doesn't even start.
Kenny George is the most dominant player UNC Asheville's ever had. He's not conditioned at this point in his career to run up and down for 40 minutes, 30 minutes, or 25 minutes.
What he lacks in stamina, George makes up for in discipline. He has never fouled out of a college game and averages only about a foul and a half per contest.
My coaches always tell me just keep my hands straight up, don't bring them down on shots. And when guys go up on me, I just keep my hands straight up. My arms are long enough, but I just keep my hands up. It's got to hit my head. The ball's got to hit my hands, and that's a block for me.
He doesn't take fakes that people give. He doesn't have to leave the ground to block a lot of shots.
George can also dunk. without leaving his feet. His size has allowed the Bulldogs to design a special inbounds play around the basket.
I guess you could call it automatic. If he's in the game, that's what we run, and that's probably not going to change anytime soon.
But George's height is not insurmountable. In early January, when the Bulldogs played then top-ranked North Carolina, George was dunked on for the first time since high school.
Hansbrough. Little rocker step and takes it in for the jam.
Kept my hands straight up. One thing I forgot to do was jump.
I think Kenny got a little lazy with putting his hands up and moving his feet, but it won't happen again, and I think Kenny will make sure of that.
Kenny George's team on the road against Charleston, and to get a good night's sleep in the hotel, he has to sleep diagonally in the bed. Here's Kenny George, life size. His arms aren't even extended, Digger.
Just give me the ball. I'm going to take the ball, go right to his face. He can't block it. I can do it, Reese. Bills, give me that pass. I'm going to go after him.
There's not a chance. He's averaging over 4 block shots a game. That's second in the country. It certainly helps your defense to have a ticket taker in the back, but you don't have to have it. Nobody who's going to play in this game tonight, Southern Illinois and Creighton, taller than 6'8". But defense has been the watchword here in Carbondale for quite some time. And, Jay, there's a very good reason for it, even without a big fella in the middle.
Well, there is a good reason for it, Reese, and that's their identity here at Southern Illinois. They guard you. And I'll tell you one thing, though. If I do throw the ball into Digger in the post, what I'm going to hear is, sub, because the coach is going to take you out. But Southern Illinois does the best job, in my judgment, in the country of closing out the shooters. When the ball moves around, they're moving as the ball moves on the flight of the ball, and they stay low and under control, taking away the shot and the drive. So, guys, let's show how you guys close out. Coming down low, and what do you guys teach, Chris?
Well, the basic thing we teach is staying low and protection against the bounce. But the number one thing when you play against a 7'7" guy like George is taking away the vision of the entry pass. So, Coach, why do you use the technique of bringing 2 hands up the middle? Because if you spread them out, they can still throw the pass right through your hands. So we just focus on taking away your vision, making you go from being a shooter and a passer to a protector.
Now, how much did you do this when you were a player?
Absolutely none. Does the closeout change with different shooters? If it's a good shooter or a guy that likes to drive the basketball? Well, we've been very good at just closing out on everybody like they're a player. You know, the whole thing about it is guys who are used to not having a lot of pressure, not handling the ball, we make them handle the ball more than their regular offensive skill guys. I see this drill is used for big guys as well because they're going to be closing out also. Everybody's going to close out the same way. So it's a drill that we do. They hate it, but it's a part of our program.
They must be good if they could guard me. There's no way. Well, Chris, thanks for everything. You guys do an unbelievable job defensively. They can't guard me, though, Reese. I don't care how good the Salukis are.
Hey, Jay, I love you, but if Digger's coaching this team, he had the wrong shooter going right there. We had Hubert right over there wide open. Buy or sell tournament chances. We'll invest in the stocks of some teams hoping to make the tournament. And does Memphis need a loss? One of the 2 unbeaten teams in the country, but they need to get that L.
You're watching College Game Day, driven by State Farm.
The dog pound here in Carbondale. Look, they've adopted 7'7". Kenny George is one of their own. He's crowd surfing. Fired up for Creighton tonight. Oh, and he had a date with Charleston a little bit later on. The big fella getting a ride through the dog pound here. Well, Southern Illinois is going to have to win the Missouri Valley Conference tournament if it wants to go back to the NCAA tournament. Sweet 16, always a goal here.
Tatum, jab step, 3. There it is! Young fires 3, left wing good. Hits the 3. Southern Illinois knows the way to San Jose and will play in the Sweet 16.
Shaw on the right wing, Young. 3 at the horn. It's no good and the game is over. The Jayhawks survived by the hair on their chinny chin.
I really feel that they are one of the nation's elite programs now.
No question about that, and there are plenty of banners here in SIU Arena to prove it. A 3-point narrow loss to Kansas last year, largely the same Kansas team that remains undefeated right now. But Southern Illinois has plenty of work to do to get back to the tournament. They are not among Joe and Artie's last 4 in, or not close to it at the moment. However, Travis Ford and UMass, they are inside the RPI in the top 20. They are one of Joe's last 4 in. So too the Providence Flyers. Providence riding the recent victory over UConn in the top 50 of the RPI. Boston College Their RPI number's not great, but Joe has them among the last 4 teams to make the field. And even with the injury to Blake Griffin, Oklahoma